All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are really going to dig into a pretty provocative argument about the future of global finance. It's one that asks us to rethink basically everything we assume about the power of the US dollar.
So the article we're looking at today kicks things off with this really powerful statement. It directly challenges that common wisdom that having the world reserve currency is this huge privilege. Instead, it makes the case that it's actually a curse in disguise.
And right there, that's the big question, isn't it? How on earth could being in the most powerful financial position in the world actually be a curse? To figure that out, we need to dive into the author's analysis.
Okay, so let's get into the weeds here. Why a trap? Why a poisoned chalice? What are these supposed hidden costs of being the world's bank?
And, the author makes a really important point here. This isn't about blaming this president or that central banker. The argument is that the problem is way deeper. It's structural. It's baked right into the DNA of any fiat currency, money that isn't backed by something physical like gold.
Okay, so to really get our heads around this trap, there's this key economic idea we've got to talk about. It's called the Triffin dilemma. So what is the Triffin dilemma? Well, think of it like this. It's a massive conflict of interest. The country that issues the world's reserve currency is forced to choose between what's good for its own people at home and what's needed by the rest of the world. And the economist who came up with this, Robert Triffin, he basically said, look, you can't do both. It's an impossible choice.
And this is where it turns into a really nasty cycle. See, the world needs dollars to do business, right? So the US has to pump those dollars out into the global economy. The main way to do that is to buy more stuff from other countries than it sells to them, which means running a permanent trade deficit. And according to the source, what's the long-term price you pay for that? You end up hollowing out your own industries and piling up a literal mountain of debt.
Okay, so you're probably thinking, fine, if the dollar is a curse, let's just use the euro. Or what about the Chinese yuan? Well, the article argues that just swapping one national currency for another doesn't actually fix the root problem. And this really gets to the core of it. The US is kind of stuck in this curse, forced to run these deficits. But when you look at potential replacements like Europe or China, they're not interested. Not at all. The source points out they've built their entire economies to be export powerhouses. They want to sell stuff, not take on the same burden that's been weighing on the US.
And man, this quote from the source just says it all, doesn't it? At the end of the day, it's not about which nation is strongest. It's that the job itself, being the world's bank in this kind of system, is just a raw deal for whoever gets stuck with it. So, okay, this all sounds pretty abstract, right? A dilemma, a system. But what does it actually mean for people? Well, the source connects this whole thing directly to some of the biggest economic and political problems we see in the world today.
Whoa, just look at that number. According to the source, since the US officially cut the dollars tied to gold back in 1971, its purchasing power has just tanked. We're talking a drop of over 85%. That's a textbook example of currency debasement. Your dollar just buys way, way less than it used to.
And it's not just about the value of your money. The author argues that because governments can basically print money whenever they want, it's led to this absolutely massive explosion of debt all over the world. They describe it as a global bubble that just can't last.
So after laying out this pretty bleak picture of the whole fiat system, the article makes a big turn. It starts talking about a potential solution, a monetary network that, it claims, doesn't have any of these built-in flaws.
And that solution, according to the source, is Bitcoin. The argument is that it has these key features that are like a direct answer to all the problems we've been talking about. It's neutral, so no one country controls it or has to bear that impossible burden. Its supply is totally fixed, so it can't be inflated away. And it works everywhere, for everyone. The whole idea is that this design completely sidesteps that Triffin dilemma.
And when you put the two systems side by side, the difference is, well, it's pretty dramatic. On one hand, you've got fiat money, like the dollar. It's created by a government, its supply can be expanded forever, and it's run by politicians. On the other hand, you've got Bitcoin, run by a decentralized network with a fixed supply and controlled by math. The source is basically saying one system is designed to fail and the other is designed to be sound.
So, this all leads to the final takeaway from the source. This isn't just some academic debate about economics. It's framed as a major turning point in history.
And here's the final argument the author makes.
The real choice we have to make isn't about which country's currency we should use, the dollar, the euro, the yuan, whatever. The real choice is between two totally different kinds of systems. Do we stick with the old model, this fiat regime based on endless debt, or do we move to something new, a decentralized, hard money standard?
And that's where the explainer leaves us with this really provocative final thought. The author's view is clear. The old system is in trouble, and this alternative isn't just some curiosity, it's an urgent necessity. They call Bitcoin the lifeboat. And the question for all of us is it time to get on board? Definitely a lot to think about.